Join me for a moment and do this. What can you see? It's like a tunnel view of the world, right? Now what I want you to do is make that tunnel smaller and smaller. What you see now is the kind of vision that a patient with end-stage glaucoma has. 300,000 Australians have glaucoma, but half of them are undiagnosed, and a major issue is our ability to detect the disease before it's too late. We can measure pressure in the eye, which is a risk factor, but only in about 50% of cases. And we can detect glaucoma clinically by looking at the back of the eye and by testing peripheral vision. But these signs can take up to 10 years to develop, and by that stage, the damage is done. They call it the silent thief of sight for good reason. Now that we have an electrical signature for comatose ganglion cells, we're one step closer to using similar electrophysiological measures in humans to detect glaucoma earlier at a point where ganglion cells are recoverable. It's my hope that one day we won't have to tell any patient that it's too late to save their vision. So let's catch this silent thief before it's stolen any sight. Thank you.
Sadly, in the next 18 minutes when I do our chat, 4 Americans that are alive will be dead through the food that they eat. My name's Jamie Oliver. I'm 34 years old. I'm from Essex in England. And for the last 7 years, I've worked fairly tirelessly to save lives in my own way. I'm not a doctor. I'm a chef. I don't have expensive equipment or medicine. I use information, education. I profoundly believe that the power of food has a primal place in our homes that binds us to the best bits of life. My wish is for you to help a strong, sustainable movement to educate every child about food, to inspire families to cook again, and to empower people everywhere to fight obesity.
Mom, who are these people? It was an innocent question from my young daughter Alia around the time when she was 3. We were walking along with my husband in one of Abu Dhabi's big fancy malls. Alia was peering at a huge poster standing tall in the middle of the mall. It featured the 3 rulers of the United Arab Emirates. As she tugged at my side, I bent down and explained that these were the rulers of the UAE who had worked hard to develop their nation and preserve its unity. She asked, "Mom, why is it that here where we live, and back in Lebanon, where Grandma and Grandpa live, we never see the pictures of powerful women on the walls? Is it because women are not important?" This is probably the hardest question I've had to answer in my years as a parent, and in my 16+ years of professional life for that matter. Women continue to advance in the world. Not fast enough, but we're moving. The Arab world too is making progress, despite many recent setbacks. Just this year, the UAE appointed 5 new female ministers to its cabinet, for a total of 8 female ministers. That's nearly 28% of the cabinet, and more than many developed countries can claim. This is today my daughter Alia's favorite picture. This is the result, no doubt, of great leadership, but it is also the result of strong Arab women not giving up and continuously pushing the boundaries. It is the result of Arab women deciding every day, like me, to convert shit into fuel, to work their life to keep work out of their life, and to join forces and not compete. As I look to the future, my hopes for my daughter when she stands on this stage some 20, 30 years from now is that she be as proud to call herself her mother's daughter as her father's daughter. My hopes for my son is that by then the expression her mother's son or mama's boy would have taken on a completely different meaning. Thank you.
This is Albemarle Street in London, the city's first one-way street. Halfway along this street is the Royal Institution, and here in the 1800s and early 1900s, artists, poets, and scientists would engage with the public. Scientists would tell stories of their latest works and give live demonstrations of their latest discoveries. and the rich and wealthy from all over London would come and listen and see the wonder of science. In fact, such was the demand to get to these talks, and such was the crowds of horse-drawn carriages descending on Albemarle Street, that the Royal Institution had to make the street one way in order to avoid complete traffic chaos. Scientists were the hottest ticket in town, and for a time there was a tangible connection between scientists and the public. But times change. Science is constantly changing. A new theory replaces an old one, and new knowledge fills a gap. And how scientists communicate also changed. Scientists began to spend more time researching and less time engaging with the public. More time became most, and then most became almost all. And gradually the connection between scientists and the public weakened. Stories are powerful tools. They enrapture, they captivate, they lead to a smile, a glint, a tear, a shiver. They emotionally connect, and the connection is key. If we, as scientists, cannot connect with the public, it is very difficult for the public to care about what we do. And if they don't care about what they do, it is even harder for them to understand. This needs to change. For scientists to reconnect with the public, we must not be afraid to use the simple language of storytelling, because simple language does not mean simple thinking. And to reconnect, we use the oldest communication tools that we have: the voice, the ear, and the story. Thank you very much.
Some of my most wonderful memories of childhood are of spending time with my grandmother, Mamar, in our four-family home in Brooklyn, New York. Her apartment was an oasis. It was a place where I could sneak a cup of coffee, which was really warm milk with just like a touch of caffeine. She loved life. And although she worked in a factory, she saved her pennies and she traveled to Europe. And I remember poring over those pictures with her and then dancing with her to her favorite music. And then when I was 8 and she was 60, something changed. She no longer worked or traveled. She no longer danced. There were no more coffee times. My mother missed work and took her to doctors who couldn't make a diagnosis. And my father, who worked at night, would spend every afternoon with her just to make sure she ate. Her care became all-consuming for our family. And by the time a diagnosis was made, she was in a deep spiral. Now, many of you will recognize her symptoms. My grandmother had depression, a deep, life-altering depression from which she never recovered. So people often ask me, what can I do? And here's what I suggest. First, I suggest that you think about women's health in the same way that you think and care about other causes that are important to you. And second, and equally as important, that as a woman, you have to ask your doctor and the doctors who are caring for those who you love, is this disease or treatment different in women? Now, this is a profound question because the answer is likely yes, but your doctor may not know the answer, at least not yet. But if you ask the question, your doctor will very likely go looking for the answer. And this is so important, not only for ourselves, but for all of those whom we love, whether it be a mother, a daughter, a sister, a friend, or a grandmother. It was my grandmother's suffering that inspired my work to improve the health of women. That's her legacy. Our legacy can be to improve the health of women for this generation and for generations to come. Thank you.